back to what you just said, accusing men of being misogynists for not voting for Kamala Harris. None of you are voting for Trump, so by your own logic, you are all misandrists.
In addition to what we've done since day one in trying to strengthen the border, we took further action in terms of executive action. We have seen illegal immigration reduced by half, the intake of fentanyl reduced by half.
I'm sorry, but I gotta step in here for a minute. You just said illegal immigration has been reduced by half. That's factually incorrect, but I'll give you credit for saying that with a straight face. Illegal immigration has increased by more than 250% since your boss took office and made you the border czar, okay? Over 8 million people have illegally crossed the border. And the number is probably much bigger than that, but 425,000 of them are criminals. Drugs are pouring in. Fentanyl is up, not down. And you even lost track of 320,000 migrant children who are most likely being trafficked and exploited. So again, everything you just said are factually incorrect.
So,
yeah, Kamala Harris. Sonny has the next question.
The other day on this show, we were talking about what happens if Trump gets in, God forbid, and he goes after comedians like us, you and me, and Whoopi, you know, and do you think there's a problem if he gets in for us?
Well, I mean, it could really happen. He could, I mean, he wants to be a dictator.
He has a sense of humor.
Well, let me just, Joy, he's not going after comedians. What a ridiculous thing to say. And I think you, Whoopi, and I'm sorry, but I don't know who you are, but the sense of self-importance that you all have is just completely out of touch. And honestly, I understand that comedy is a subjective thing, but I've never heard you say anything funny. Now, I'm honest when I say it. I've never found you funny, and I'm sure a lot of people out there agree with me. I mean, your own producer uses laugh signs to prompt your own audience to laugh. And that is really sad to watch. It is very sad to watch you not being funny. And I think that is what you should worry about.
You know, I keep the blinders on and do what I feel that I need to do and want to do as an objective journalist.
I'm sorry, but objective journalist, are you serious? You work for CNN. You interview your Democrat guests with softball questions, but you debate the Republican ones. Calling that objective journalism is like saying Whoopi doesn't own 2 cats.
This man is unhinged.
You do own 2 cats.
What? I'm sorry.
You own 2 cats.
We are not at a point right now to be talking about policy difference because we are not running against a normal human being.
Right.
We are running against Donald Trump, who is an existential threat to humanity and democracy.
Before we just go.
Well, first of all, I'm really sorry that this is happening to you. But let me ask you this question in a way that your brain can hopefully process. You got 2 options. Under the current administration, as we speak, the world is on the brink of World War III. Now, under Trump, 0 wars around the world. 2 options here. Which one seems like an existential threat to humanity?
We have to do one of the things that we do really well here, and that is correct dangerous misinformation that he is spreading. Do not listen to anything he says because he is giving you bad information. Go to our website, see all the resources that if you need them, you can take advantage of. And we'll try to always give you the truth. That's why I had to say.
Well, Whoopi, throughout your entire monologue here, you looked straight to the camera until you said we will give you the truth. That's when you looked down in discomfort and doubt. In other words, your body just rejected the bullshit that came out of your mouth. Isn't that amazing?
You know, I think that she certainly does have a problem with men because misogyny is a real thing in this country.
just black
I don't think
men. White
black
men
men are
and
the
white
problem.
men. Yeah.
Black men are not the problem. Black men are used to matriarchy, okay? Black men are used to black women being the heads of the family. They are used to that.
Well, Sonny, matriarchy as a result of fatherless home is not the matriarchy you want to brag about. And back to what you just said, accusing men of being misogynist for not voting for Kamala Harris. None of you are voting for Trump. So by your own logic, you are all misandrists.
If you think about Joe Rogan, he's got the #1 podcast in the country. And then you start to think, well, it's men. She has a problem with men. There are many men that don't want to vote for her.
She doesn't have a problem with her.
That's right.
They have a problem with her.
That's much better. That's much better. Thank you for
Wait,
correcting
let me
that.
just. You want Kamala to go on Rogan's podcast to appeal to men, but then you say it's not her, it's men who have problem with her. So you're blaming the audience of the very podcast that you are trying to win over and honestly insulting them. I don't understand. I think that's a very entitled attitude.
It's just hard to find something quite like the precedent here of the richest man in the entire country fully, like completely behind one of the major party nominees to the point that Musk is.
Chris, it's not hard at all. Since 2004, George Soros has constantly donated millions of dollars to the Democrats, adding up to hundreds of millions of dollars over the years, including at least $60 million this year. You're a journalist, you should know that.
But look, over these 2 months, just to see the hopefulness and the optimism, folks are ready to move on. They're tired of the division. They're tired of the chaos. They're just...
Well, team, I actually agree with everything you just said. People are, in fact, tired of the current division and the chaos. They are ready to move on from 4 years of Kamala. So I appreciate your honesty, but I don't think you were supposed to say that.
If you're not sure by now, I don't know what else it is people are looking for. She has turned herself inside out practically to meet she's met everybody that nobody thought she would meet. She went she's seeing Joe Rogan. She went
She shows up,
She's
which is
going
more
and
than we
she's
can
talking.
say about Trump.
And so,
Well, Whoopi, I understand the panic around this table. I really do. She's showing up. She's doing interviews. Why are people still unsure about her? Well, it's because the more she talks, the more obvious it becomes to listeners that she is utterly clueless, which is just sad to watch. And by the way, she just declined to go on Joe Rogan, probably for the same reason, but Trump is going there today. And I'm sure you, personally, you will love it.
I think really what happened here is that we had those 2 assassination attempts against the former president. And the message that was sent out across the board was, let's tone down the rhetoric. And in toning down the rhetoric, that silenced people that were calling him a fascist, a threat to society. That silenced factual information. Many of us still called him a fascist,
How come we
a
haven't
dictator
toned
on day one. But there has been sort of this silencing of factual information about the former president.
Wait a minute, Sonny. You might find this surprising, but calling someone a fascist and a threat to society does not automatically make it factual information. It shows what you feel about that person, and it gives people an idea about your IQ level, which is pretty low, but it doesn't make it a fact.
He got the Washington Post and Jeff Bezos, who's supposedly a powerful, brilliant billionaire. He got Bezos to back down. The head of Amazon, runs the Washington Post, owns it. He got them to stop what they have been doing timelessly, which is endorsing a candidate. He forced them to not endorse. That's pretty scary, guys.
Mika, news outlets are supposed to remain impartial, and endorsements only reveal their political bias that undermines public trust. But back to what you just said, there is no basis for claiming that Trump ever forced Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post to not endorse a candidate. What a ridiculous thing to even suggest. So I would say what's scary is you making up actual disinformation on the spot, live on air, and presenting it as a fact, which just shows that you're not really a journalist, but an activist.
And yesterday, she appeared on the most popular podcast among women, Call Her Daddy. Take a look.
Can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision about a man's body? Let's
No.
No. Is there any law?
No.
Whoopi,
No.
draft. In times of war, the government only forces men to fight and probably get killed. It's called military draft or selective service.
Now, he was quick to clarify that he was really referring to the hateful rhetoric as garbage. But it didn't stop our MAGA friends from seizing upon it.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why you clutching your pearls, because you're trying to make something out of a tongue slip. Yeah.
Well, Whoopi, calling half of the country garbage is not a tongue slip, but an opinion accidentally shared out loud. But what's fascinating here is your double standard and the level of gaslighting involved. Because you people constantly make up nonsense about Trump, you present it as fact, and then you get outraged about it. And now we have Joe Biden on tape calling half of the country garbage, yet instead of condemning him, you are upset with the people he called garbage for hearing him say it? Are you serious?
There's this new YouGov survey that actually shows Donald Trump's lack of enthusiasm with women is a 10-point deficit, whereas hers with men is only 6 points.
Oh.
So that's actually more significant. As much focus as there's been as men aren't out there for Kamala Harris, well, women are really not out there for Donald Trump. A nearly 10-point deficit with 50% of the population matters.
Well, Alicia, the higher turnout among women is not because of Kamala or Trump, and the data explains that. Since the 80s, women have voted in much higher rates than men in every presidential election, which is very interesting. And women tend to vote Democrat. In fact, 72% of unmarried women vote Democrat, including those who own a cat like Whoopi.